Hotmail, HOTMAIL.com. GRIFF703 @hotmail.com.
Okay, GRIFF703 @hotmail.com. Absolutely.
Yeah. That was a ham radio repeater frequency, 703. That's where that came from.
All right.
People ask me about that.
Is that capital or small letters?
All lowercase.
Lowercase. GRIFF703 @hotmail.com.
That's right. And anybody else out there that would like to communicate, email me at that address and send me your phone number, and I will call you.
And before I go, I'd just like to say, if things got so bad, as a last resort, if succession, you know what I'm saying, if it was a true succession, but if it's some sort of a trick just to get the Mexican troops in here to occupy us, that's where I'm going with this. We have to be real careful if things do hit the fan, that we don't get tricked into giving up our freedoms one way or another.
We've already given up our freedoms.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Well, I'll continue to listen to the show, and I really am enjoying it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the call, Brian.
Joe, my favorite Star Trek program, the one that was so profound to me,
yes,
had to do with Picard and in the holodeck. And Data conjured a scene in the holodeck and brought forth Sherlock Holmes' rival, Professor Moriarty.
Mm-hmm.
And Moriarty had powers equal to Data, so Data could not overcome Moriarty. Moriarty took control of the ship through the holodeck,
mm-hmm.
and he made demands of the captain and the crew before he would release control. Now, Picard tricked him and made Professor Moriarty think that he had indeed escaped the holodeck. And he asked for a shuttlecraft and his girlfriend, and they got in the shuttlecraft and flew off, thinking that he was real. He was a real person in that time period, and he had escaped the holodeck. Picard tricked him to think that, but actually he was still in the holodeck. But he didn't know he was in the holodeck. And he was still captive in another reality that he thought was one way, and in fact, he was still in the computer. That was so profound to me. I will never forget that show. I would love to find copies of it. But we're like that. We perceive one reality, and many people, the Christian people and religious people, for that matter, many of the religions would argue about that they're not in the holodeck, they're not in a make-believe reality. This is a real reality. Well, they don't have any idea.
Mm-hmm.
Neither did Professor Moriarty.
No, you're right. It's
Yeah.
amazing how many parallels you can draw with Star Trek, can't you?
Oh, I love the program. Whoever wrote those programs really had experienced life to the fullest.
Now, I'm going to get into a couple of things that I saw one of the users in the chat room, GMR1, is looking for an alternative heat source to his house or wherever he's going to be. Doesn't have the money to buy an alternative heat source. Yes, you do. And I'm going to give you two links right now that's going to show you alternative heat sources. All right? Let me see if I can find this. This is the first one. It's on Amazon.com, and it's a Vogelzang barrel stove converter kit. And basically, if you can go down to your local auto shop or garage or anything like that, ask them for a 55-gallon drum. Chances are they'll be happy to give it to you because in order to dispose them, they have to cut them in half, and it's a real pain in the patoot. But you get a 55-gallon drum, and you clean it out real nice, and then you go and purchase this kit on Amazon.com for $43.65 or whatever it is. And the kit comes with a door, and you're going to have to cut a hole out, and it comes with the feet, and it also comes with a adapter for you to put a pipe on in order to get an exhaust. If you would like to use that as an alternative heat source, it most certainly will fit the bill and on the cheap. The other thing that I would like to kind of throw out there for you is let me find this article here, or this. Just bear with me 1 second.
If people are trying to visualize what you're talking about, Joe, if anybody has ever seen the old episodes of MASH, where Hawkeye and BJ are in the tent, and it's in the middle of winter, and they go over and they throw a piece of wood in their stove, that's exactly what you're talking about.
That's exactly right. Yep, it's something akin to that, because even the small potbelly stoves are relatively expensive. If, say, you go to like an Army surplus store or something like that, they can be kind of expensive. This here, if you get a 55-gallon drum, and you can get one for free, you just got to look for them and buy this conversion kit for about $43 for the kit, and then you're going to need some pipe in order to go from that for an exhaust or a chimney, a makeshift chimney. You'll be good to go. This link here is something. You got to watch this video because this is absolutely incredible. This person here made a solar heater out of soda cans, and I really can't put it into words. You have to watch the video in order to understand what he does. But basically what he does is he puts a bunch of these soda cans together, spray paints them black, puts them in a frame, mounts it against the door, and the sun hits it, it heats it up. He's got a little small blower on the bottom of it, and it circulates heat through the soda cans, and voila, you have a heater. It's an amazing thing. I would never in a million years have thought to make a heater out of soda cans, yet this guy did it, and it works rather well. And I mean the that's funny, Free Ride. It blew my mind when I saw it. So those are a couple of ways you can heat the house. Now, I will say this too, Stevie65. I hope your cell phone charges, but in the event that it does not, John, how much do you pay for a 50-pound bag of corn?
Well, you raised it. Last I paid was $4.75, but it's now $5.50 a bag for a 50-pound sack of feed corn.
Okay, so for $100, right, you can get roughly almost a half ton of corn, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Well, if you get a half ton of corn, and then you go on to Amazon.com or any of these other fine internet establishments, you can get a grain grinder, a grain mill. And no, you don't have to get the one that Dr. Prepper does or advertises all the time, because that one's like $200. You can get them anywhere from about $19.95, anywhere up to like $500. Mine, the one that I bought, was about $60. You know, I was thinking maybe run of the mill, something like that, and you know, and let me tell you, folks, it takes some elbow grease, but you can do it. In the meantime, while you have electricity, though, you can grind it up using your blender and get that done. And now you have cornmeal and corn flour, depending on the consistency that you make it, and it's $5.50 for a 50-pound bag. You know what I mean?
Well, even better yet, Joe, they can do what I did and go down to their local agricultural store. We have them here in Pennsylvania, Agway. Go down there and tell them, say, hey, look, I'm looking to buy a 50-pound bag of oats and a 50-pound bag of wheat to feed my pigs. Bring it home and set it aside. It's good to grind up, and you can make your own oatmeal and wheat flour from that.
That's right. That's right. And down where I am, John, it's Southern States. That's our feed place is Southern States, and that's where I went. And I got news for you, folks. That's a lot of food. 1,000 pounds of corn or 1,000 pounds of oats for $100. You know, think of it. So for $100, for $5, say you just buy $5 worth of this stuff or $5.50 worth of this stuff a week. By the end of the month, you've got 200 pounds of corn or oats or wheat berries stored up already, and voila, you've got food. You can survive. You know, so I mean, there are ways. You just have to really simplify the way that you think about things and understand that there are cheap alternatives to this. That you don't necessarily need you don't need to have all these canned goods stacked up. While it'd be nice, it is expensive. So you got to kind of break it back. Think about the biblical times. Back when people sustained themselves on bread every day, bread and water. That was it. That's what they sustained themselves on. I mean, you could do it.
At this late juncture in the game, Joe, not only would I recommend what you just said, I would also recommend people go out and purchase as much flour as they can in 5-pound sacks and vacuum seal it if possible, keep it from getting bugs, or seal it in some way, keep it dry. I would also suggest getting a couple cans of salt, some powdered eggs if possible, or learn to powder eggs on your own, some cooking oil and some yeast. And with just those 5 basic ingredients, you can make bread and you can also make noodles.
Are you getting all this, Griff? I hope you're writing this down.
Yes, I'm writing it down.
I'm going to quiz you later on this.
Yes.
My home ec teacher would be proud.
For sure. But I mean, there's so many ways that you can do this. And as much as it seems like these are perilous times, and they really are perilous. I mean, you can't, with your eyes open, you can't deny what you see. You just can't deny what you see. But you still have to go on living your life and preparing as if you do have tomorrow. You got to do that. You kind of have to play it both ways. I know it's kind of tough to try to envision it, but you have to do that because no one knows when things are going to really go down or the feces is going to hit the fan, I guess you could say. But I will tell you that I myself, it's kind of like a parallel thing. We live our life, and do the best job we can. Don't take things for granted, but at the same time, you're kind of preparing yourself as best you can. And that's the way I go. Now, Griff, what about pets?
You are limited to dry food for the pets. I'm glad you mentioned that, Joe. Mm-hmm. We're noticing here recently that pet food is going up in price, significant increases in the price.
And Griff, I want to say this real quick too. I was at Walmart on Saturday, and now I've switched my cats over to Iams, only because you were feeding them with Iams, and they're doing so well. And believe it or not, it actually has made a difference, although my cat is still quite rancid. At the same time, though, it has minimized the offensive farts that he shoots my way. But I will say that when I went there on Saturday, there was hardly any Iams on the shelf. And what was there, the only one that was there, was a 14-pound bag. That was the biggest one. And
yes, I know. I was going to say that before you did.
And it was like $20-something. I can't remember what.
$24.95.
Yes, unbelievable.
Let me tell you what's causing that. The Iams plant has shut down. They're telling the people through customer service at Iams that they didn't calculate the length of downtime that would be required for them to refurbish and upgrade their plant. I don't believe it. I think they had salmonella or some other infectious in their plant, and they're still down. They've been down for months, and they're not back online yet. So the stock that you're seeing is probably old stock, and they've reduced the 20-pound bags that used to be on the shelf for $24.95 down to 14-pound bags for $24.95. Now the same thing is happening to Science Diet food, which is considered one of the best foods out there. They've pulled a trick. They've gone from 20 pounds down to 17.5, keeping the width and height of the bag the same, but reducing the depth or the thickness of the bag to make it look full with 17.5. So they're all reducing the content